What's up, everyone? It's Johnny, and you are listening to ICE episode number 7. So if you just now found our Sirenicide feed in your podcast app, and you do not know what this show is, you might want to step back now, because this is some intense spoilers. This is a behind-the-scenes episode, so we are a serialized horror drama, and this is going to be pretty much spoiling everything from season 1 all the way to episode 3-8. So turn back now. But if for the rest of you guys who are joining us, we haven't done an ICE episode in a while, so before we get started, let's introduce this table. It's not just me talking in a box to myself, which is very nice. So start off, we'll do our guest of honor. This is our lore master, Desdemona.
Hi, everybody.
So Des has been working with us over the last few months, reining in all of our fucking universe and organizing it and helping out with a ton of stuff. Even on the other side, she's helping us build a really cool merch store that hopefully will be launching later this fall. So yeah, so Des, and then we have the man himself. Spoilers. We have Mr. Matthew Finnis, Joey Trauma.
That's me. What's up, everybody?
And last but not least,
it's Amy, who also voices Margaret Sharp / Molly Needles.
Everybody's got like 3 names.
I know.
I think that's got to do with my problem.
Well, she's got like
5 names in real life.
Yeah, she didn't want to give up her other life.
I have that problem too.
I went to Starbucks and I was like, they were like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Hold on, wait, I don't know."
I'm not gonna lie. Earlier when you walked in and our daughter was like, "What's your name?" I'm like, what is she gonna say?
Yeah, me too. I was like, how is she gonna introduce herself to our daughter?
Oh my god, who knows? Just pick one.
So what we're doing today is we are going to be doing basically a season 1 through 3.8 roundup. So taking you all the way through season 1, season 2, and then the first half of season 3 to get you guys ready for our mid-season premiere. Now that premiere is going to have a lot of twists and turns, taking the storyline in a really cool direction, and we just want to make sure that the fog is cleared. So if you're introducing a friend to this show, or you're just still yourself trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
That's me.
This is a great episode to hopefully tune into. Now, an ICE episode, if this is your first intensive care episode, it is very unscripted. We don't go through and edit. I mean, we'll clean up some like background noises and stuff like that, but we're not going to go chop where it's like, I can't believe it said that, like, man, I must have took a whole sentence out of there. So, hopefully we don't say nothing too devastating. If there is a massive spoiler that accidentally goes out, we might bleep that, but that would be about it. I don't think I'd delete it. I would just put like a homage to Beyond, have like some kitty cat meow over it.
I was going to say that like myself.
I can't believe it. Joey killed me. Anyway, so instead of going through every single episode by episode, where this will be a 4 or 5 hour long ICE episode, we're going to just do a summary, like a cliff notes of our series. That being said, I do want to encourage you, if you've only listened through once and you're getting to this, it's definitely worth a re-listen. There's this thing, I've said it before, is designed to be a show that has multiple angles to it. I mean, we still have fans that are doing their 3rd and 4th re-listens and finding it. I just finished my 8th not too long ago and found stuff in it, and I wrote it. Like,
I just did my 3rd.
It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy, or oh, he is the one that gave her this, and things like that. So there's a lot of Easter eggs in there, and we're going to go into how that fleshes out in our next contest later on in the episode. So stick around for that. So the agenda basically is our season 1 through 3.8 roundup, and then our top 3 moments here at the table from Desdemona, Joey, Amy, and myself of our favorite things. That might not necessarily be something that happened in an episode as much as something that happened behind the scenes that just was really cool. So just our top 3 moments of the series so far. And then from there, we're going to go into some much appreciated shoutouts. and introduce our contest, and then talk about our first live Q&A panel coming up at the ScaryDad Show / convention. So all that will be in this episode and much, much more. So stick around. Cue sound effect thing. No, that's not happening. All right, so I love when podcasts do that. We'll be right back. We're back.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
So one of the things that is brand new on our site, emphasis on the in this episode, is our archive. So the archive has been out for a few months, but I was not happy with it because it was very intrusive with the artwork of our show. When we have an artwork section on the website, I definitely urge you to check it out. There's a ton of really good artwork there by Christina Ashworth and like some really crappy pieces by myself. So if you want to look at those, that's great. But the way that the original archive was, it was very centric around that. So we went through, we stripped it out. So if you got a chance, go to sirenicide.com/archive. And that is also something, if you're trying to get a friend of the show or a family member and just kind of talk to them about what it's about, it has a small blip that tells you what each season's about. And then it literally has links to every single episode in that season, mini and full episode. And it's all broken down in episodic release order. At the bottom of the archive, we started our playlist. Our first and only playlist right now is the Lena saga. So if you just want to listen to the character of Lena and how she unfolds through the series, we have her episode-specific entries there. But we've got some pretty cool things coming up for the playlist section of the site. If it gets big enough, I might actually make archives separate from playlists. But for right now, we just got one playlist on there. There's a big, ambitious one coming up, but I don't want to talk about it too much right now because I want to get people super excited because there's a ton of work that's going to be going into it. Yeah, it has to do with time. Fate's so fast. Anyway, all right. So with that, I'm going to just briefly kind of go over the archive real quick. So in season 1, how did all this start? We basically had Matthew Finnis as he went through chronicling some crap that was happening after he woke up sliced open. And we met this asshole guy, this ambulance dude, Eddie Vile, who was being a menace. We bumped into this weird creature, boiled man thing called 447. And we found out about this faction, the Sirenicide and the USG, the Sirenicide. So that was pretty much the gist of season 1. You'll get to know those characters and those two factions and what's going on. A couple of mysteries hinted to what's going to happen in season 2, but not a whole lot. And a few standalone episodes that were in there that were really good, like the Suffering Loop and the Liquid, that had nothing to do with any really of the main storyline, but just really good standalones. Season 2, we evolved into a world of darkness, which was getting deeper into the awfulness that's going on in the city, where we had episodes 8 through, mini episodes 8 through 21, and full episodes there. There was 13 in that season. In that season, we got to meet more about this Johnny Stitches guy. And we were introduced to Harper Powers in a mini episode in season 1, but he really evolved in season 2 to more of a character. Found out more about this Molly Needles person. And then the Rotandans, the Dark Elite, and then Doc himself are really brought to the light in that season. So that's worth checking out. And right now, we are in the middle of season 3, and this blip might give you a couple little answers to things that haven't hit yet. Morstan is drowned in the floods of the Hurricane's Hydra. Matthew is missing. Sirenicide harvesters are being slaughtered by USG acolytes, and Doc has returned. So again, there's a lot of spoilers here. Hopefully you're caught up. However, there is light on the horizon. The tales from season 3 are going to be 16 episodes, and then there are mini episodes 22 through 32. And this season you're going to learn about Solok, Realms Beyond, gain more knowledge on guys like Malik Custo, Dr. Laughlin, Joey Trauma, Nancy Curette, Danny Treffin, and Jimmy Hemridge. And right now we are standing at, we are on mini episode 24, just came out last week. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are. So that being said, that's all the technical crap we've covered till now. Let's actually talk about what all this stuff is and how it goes. You want to keep that by you?
I do.
Just keeping the episode list. All right. So, hey, you got to say it. What's the opening line of the series?
So, tell me, how did this all begin?
Still got it. Still got it.
So talk about Matthew Finnis, man.
Well, Matthew Finnis, he's just your regular guy, you know, working his shit job. He don't really want to work anymore, going through the motions, and unfortunately for him, he, you know, it's never really been discussed. I guess his origins, how this happened to him, which we might
Season 7.
we might visit that eventually, season 7. But basically, I mean, this guy, he was unfortunate enough to cross paths with the ambulance man, and he was operated upon. And
So what kind of job did he have?
well, he was a home health provider.
So
Just goes around helping out the elderly,
bathing old people?
bathing old people, you know, taking out their trash, whatever they need, because old people, you know,
Need help?
they need help sometimes, you know. Things don't work as well as they used to. But anyways, that's beside the point. Yeah, so this guy here, this happened to him, and he wants to know why, you know. So he takes it upon himself to create this blog and try and find, I guess, a little information on as to what's going on. And he gets this tip from a contact of his, Vincent. Vincent, very good friend of his, and Harper.
Yeah.
He leads him over to this guy. His name's Charles Blackwell, and that's the events of episode 1 is where everyone jumps in.
That's not his first interview.
No, I mean I think he had one prior to that, so this would be a second interview.
Mrs. Riggins.
Mrs. Riggins, the infamous Mrs. Riggins.
How? What happened? Who is she? Who knows?
I don't know. Anyways, so that's how he gets started in this. He meets Charles. Charles tells him about his encounter with the ambulance man and
Doogie.
The
unnamed Doogie at that time. So once we went from getting this character, what makes him so special, like Joey was saying, is the fact that he is operated on and doesn't just take it. Which in this city, I guess a part of the suspension of disbelief is that these hospitals see this so much over the last 100.5 years that it's almost normal. Like it's like coming in with, oh, don't worry, we've seen this scar before, you're fine. There's people that came in with a scar decades that lived their whole life normally, you know. And that's where clearing up right off the bat, just because you have the luminescence given to you by the Sirenicide faction, doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna not age. You're just gonna age a lot slower. You're not ever gonna get sick again. Those kind of things. It's basically, as they say a lot of times, getting immortality in a nutshell. But instead of just swallowing that, wondering why I get this horrible scar on his chest, he just, no, I'm not. No, somebody did this, and this isn't right. So his quest basically gives him
purpose.
Purpose, yeah.
And you'll kind of see throughout the series that everyone that they have released, like they've done the scarring to and released, kind of react to it differently. So some go psycho, some find purpose, you know, so there's some kind of in between. So not everybody handles it the same way.
Right. It's definitely present within the episodes that when this is done to you, it fucks you up. And it seems like the only thing that almost brings you peace is some sort of sick adrenaline. Whether it's hunting something, you know, or, you know, maybe speeding, I don't know. Like, something's gotta, you got this initial hunt to crave this new hunger that's within you. You know, it's like, I guess kind of like a parallel to a vampire. You become immortal, you just crave blood to sustain your life. Well, these people that have this scarring done to them, become a scarred one, they just have this inept anger. And the only way to satisfy it is that, like, when you break something and you're like, oh, God, that felt great. It's like that, only on a way higher level. All right. So in season 1, we meet him. He starts investigating, and along the way, he finds out that the city's not what he thinks it is. That there's this faction of people doing this to people. It's just some one-off thing that happened to him. And within his third interview, he finds a link that Mrs. Riggins had brought up the name Johnny, and now Charles Blackwell brings up the name Johnny, and he gets in his car, I think at the end of the first episode, panicking because he remembers hearing the name Johnny.
Yeah.
So that's just too much to be a coincidence. So, who is Johnny? Fucking short circuit. So.
Johnny.
So who is Johnny? Well, you have to listen to season 2 to find more of that. But I think he's in the finale of 1, right? Yeah, he's in finally. But so where do we go from there? Well, what you're going to need to really open up this last half of the season is to understand Matthew Finnis's disdain for the ambulance man and what he's done. He kills Blackjack in this first season, right? And all these stories you hear from Lena, because I mean, at this point, I mean, where we are in the first season, Lena is not a bad person.
No.
You know, she's this old lady that he cares for, but has this scar on her chest, and she hears this awful story how she was basically kidnapped and almost raped and murdered by this ambulance psycho. And then this hooded man came in that it was a very unlikely savior kind of thing. Like, she didn't get raped or murdered, but she still got fucking butchered. And this done as basically she was a template, just a teaching tool for this potential surgeon. So Eddie, you know, has done a lot of shit, and season 1 does a really good job of letting you know what he is and what he's about, and that he's definitely our main antagonist of the series. He's not some super redemption character now. He's got a lot of qualities that you'll see later on that you'll sympathize. And we're going to be diving a whole lot more into that in this back half of the series. So if you've made it this far in, I guess I'll go ahead and just throw that out there. And this is going to be a public post later this fall, but this is a 5-season series. So Matthew Finnis's backstory is going to be in season 7, so it won't ever happen. But, yeah, so I'm sure the tweets are going to blow up and be millions of people out in the streets crying when they hear that. Yeah. 2 people. But it's going to be a really cool 5-series arc. That doesn't mean that's the end of this universe, but it will be the end of the Sirenicide chapters. All right, so that big ball being dropped, let's see where we want to go from here. What else do we need out of season 1 that is just apparently like pivotal to going into the back half of our season 3 here?
The anathema.
The anathema. Good. Yeah. So the storm, you know. Who wants to talk about the anathema?
What is it? What's gonna happen?
The anathema is basically your, how does Eddie put it? The next great extinction.
Or cleansing.
Yeah, something like that. But so this is the, like Johnny said, the coming storm. It's referenced, I think, for the first time in...
there's an episode called Anathema is Upon Us.
Yeah, episode 5. Season 1, episode 5. The Anathema is Upon Us.
And you have one of the best lines in the series. What's that? He's just like, who gives it? What the fuck is this thing?
But this is something that most people who are in the know are aware of, that it is coming, trying to brace themselves for it to, I guess, weather it as best they can, because it is an inevitability that this is going to happen. Yeah. It's happened a few times, apparently.
Yep. So basically in this lore, each anathema has been called the next great mass extinction, that kind of thing. I think Lucius is one of the first people in the first season to reference it. He who ferries in the anathema, or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And in that point, the listener doesn't realize, or we don't realize at that point, none of us, that is he talking about Johnny, but really right there, he's really referencing Doc as like the ushering of the end of the world kind of thing. So it's a race against time to stop this storm is what it seems like so far, or a race against time to make sure you're prepared to go through it.
Yeah, it's more like squirrels.
Yeah.
Like, let's get all of our little nuts together before the winter.
It's true.
It's
We're going around collecting bodies.
Coming.
These scarred luminescent acorns.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else out of season 1 that jumps out at you guys? I think it's really cool in the mini episodes. In season 1, you find out that there's vampires in this world. which is pretty cool because in season 2 you find out in the mini episodes that werewolves are in this world. So it's very apparent that running throughout here is almost all your greatest fears and the boogeyman and, you know, being snatched in the night by unknown things, hauntings in your house, bloodsuckers, beasts that roam the wilderness and the woods. All this stuff exists in this parallel world. So that opens it up to a really crazy thing. And this Matthew Finnis guy is trying to digest all this along with the listening audience. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I really like the setup of the mini episodes coming out of season 1 because some of them are standalone. They don't really have much to do with the overarching story, but then you have a lot of them that do, like My Last Moment closes up the Charles Blackwell. Yeah. So it kind of all leads in, and I feel like the mini episodes really give you like a little brief hint of things, like this really cool insight to what wasn't explored into a full episode. My Last Moment is probably one of my favorite mini episodes because it's like a real fear. Like it's really scary. I mean, I know there's a supernatural element to it, but
getting out of your shower, some creep looking through your window and then busts through it and attacks you. Yeah, I mean, there's not you were saying that the other day, it's not a whole lot of vampires or ghosts to that. It's just the legitimate fear of somebody stalking you or something like that.
It cringes every time. Like I cringe every time I listen to it, and then it kind of makes me laugh because I know like it was, you know, me and Johnny were the ones that made the kissing noises, and it was so funny because we had to like cut out all of our laughing.
We're husband and wife, by the way, if you didn't know. So it's not like, come over here, I need to kiss you for this sound effect.
It's called acting.
Yeah, just acting, all right? Jeez. But no, I mean, that was a really tense episode because the supernatural element to it is implied that you're hearing Matthew Finnis go through these urges that he's trying to suppress of this anger. Well, you can tell it hit Blackwell, and the last thing on his mind, My Last Moment, was this girl he met at a party. And that's the last time he remembers being sane. So it's driving him nuts in his post-scarring. So, but, you know, it's Texas, and she was packing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we definitely didn't just kill him because certain people didn't want to voice like 8 characters.
They're not the protection you were
So in the beginning, we didn't have that much of a cast, so all of us were doing like 4 or 5 different characters. Like, man, Johnny, Lucius, Blackwell, all these guys sound the same. Yeah. Oh, sorry. But I think that's about it for season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So season 2, we actually open up to these factions, which we're about to go over a little bit more in detail. We have Sirenicide that we learned about, USG that we learned about. So basically, Sirenicide, listeners, is the split-off faction of Doc and his USG. Now, we're going to find out more about, that's another reason this episode is being out, we're going to find out a whole lot more of the USG and how it came to exist. If you got to go to our live show, you get to hear a little bit of backstory on that. If you didn't get to go to our live show, good news is it's free to view the whole video, and it's actually in the archive that I brought up earlier. If you go to season 2 down towards the end, there's a link, and when you click that, instead of it taking you somewhere else on our website, it'll actually take you to YouTube where you can view 1080p version of our show. Desdemona's in the crowd.
I get the crap scared out of me.
She's still traumatized.
Mervyn stood up shouting, "This is an outrage!" But anyway,
Mr. Wilson.
so you want a little bit more, the Harvest of 1928 is what that one's called, and it really goes into Johnny splitting off from the USG. But we don't really talk about how the USG was formed much, except for that Doc found Johnny and they formed this thing. Why and how, all that's coming. So you definitely want to stay tuned, but if you want to be ready for all that to be released and not be confused by it, I would definitely, again, recommend a re-listen. So that's how Sirenicide formed. It was basically a spite thing. Like, he split off from the Undead Surgeons Guild that he helped build. And to clear this up, these scarred acolytes that have X's for eyes and stitched up mouths and are cut down to the bone, that is a design by Johnny. Now, that's referenced in the 1928 video, but just to put that out there for you now, that the way these acolytes look is a design by Johnny. Like, so if you ever notice, like, all of our t-shirts and our things have this X-eyed character, and we named him, you know, Doc, ironically, when we were still a band and all that. But in this world, the X's and the stitched mouth is like the trademark of Sirenicide. Like that's what they put on their packaging for their organs and stuff like that, which is really smart if you think about it from the point of Sirenicide, because if someone's trying to track them down or chase them down, they don't know what faction's what. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's really genius, but at the same time, it's Johnny's hubris not wanting to let go of what he created.
His pride.
Yeah. So, and we'll see what that does to him in the future. So, that'll be really cool. Meow. But let's see. Then we go into the USG. The USG is Doc's organization. It's a bunch of hives packed into the ground. Who's got USG? Is that you?
Mm-hmm. That's Joe.
So Joe's going to tell us about the USG.
Well, like Johnny was saying, the USG, it's a group headed by Doc, and he's worldwide. Like, he's got hives all around the world with guardians at each one. I mean, that's like this whole hierarchy where he's obviously at the top, and he's got his minions, his acolytes, all waiting, lying in wait in these hives, waiting for the day to be activated. And once, I mean, we'll get there, I guess.
Yeah. If the storm, the anathema comes, these things are his soldiers. They're going to help march into the next world. And I don't think he sees himself as a god at this point. He probably will in the future when something like that happens, maybe. I don't know. But at this point in the story, he feels like, like every great bad guy, he feels like what he's doing is right. Like this is his purpose. He is, and you have to be special to be in this. Mm-hmm. What would happen is he finds this Johnny guy who basically takes these things he's been packing into the hives. And, it's kind of like putting something in a Ziploc bag and putting it in the refrigerator so it's good for a few days. That's what Doc does. When he finds Johnny, it's like putting something in the deep freeze. So he takes his acolytes that he's been packing into these hives, and with the gift of this fucking creative whatever Johnny is, his power that Doc does not possess, he's able to preserve and prolong. A lot of it's got to do with vampire blood. Preserve and prolong these acolytes. But in order to do it, it's a horrendous process, and it strips everything away from them, which Doc was super happy about because that's what he wants. He sees them as numbers, literally numbers. 447, 989, 96. She killed 96. 808, take you to the hive. So that is the USG in a nutshell. And we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. I love it.
The same thing you said you weren't gonna do.
So, Amy Needles over here is going to be going over Dark Elite. What is the Dark Elite?
So, just when you thought the story was confusing enough with keeping characters in line, we throw in the Dark Elite on you.
Not enough bad guys. Overwhelming odds.
So we really find them in season 2, starting with Vima. I guess there's a little bit in what's a synth. Sorry.
Oh yeah, Del Toro.
Yeah.
Del Toro.
And we find out Marty and Vima's referenced in that, like he calls upon her. But our main person that we know from the Dark Elite is Vima. The Dark Elite is mainly like a government organization that like runs everything from behind the scenes. It's one of those government agencies that even government employees don't really know much about. Overall, they're basically here to try to keep all of the supernatural things at bay, to where it's not getting to the public eye, to where it's not mass panic and chaos going around everywhere. We find out later on through the seasons that they do like recruit people, and Vima being one of their younger ones that they have recruited, she's like basically made her way up the ranks. She goes in toe-to-toe with Ivar, who is from Sweden, who we were so excited for Michael Stein from Dark Tranquility to voice.
Yep.
It was one of our very big moments, if y'all don't know, because we really have went on how excited we are about that one. You'll find like they have a ton of like all of the massive technology that's available, and there's kind of a line between what they want to do. Some want to basically save this planet. Others want to actually move us off of this rock.
Correct.
So
like not really a civil war, but just like a difference in ideologies within this massive organization.
Mm-hmm.
But most of it is the elders, the ones that created it, I guess. They're more on board with the colonization aspect of it. So it went from protection to colonization.
So you'll find out like they hunt the acolytes and stuff like that down to basically study them to know how to defeat them.
Except for Vima has taken that to like the next level.
Yeah, Vima's kind of in her own world. She sees everything her own way, but I absolutely love her because she's not the typical bad guy. She's got a lot of layers to her. Her story's very, very complicated. As far as like you get to see her love interest with Droven, which is very sad.
Yeah, he catches a Hiram to the head.
Yeah. Poor thing, has to pick herself up from that. She's in a very male-dominant world. And you see a lot of that stuff being brought out with like Commander Reed and some of the elders.
I mean, she kind of did it to herself. I mean, it's a poor thing, but she created the thing that killed her lover. So her lust for power and takeover and
she was a good person. I said she was a complicated person.
She's not a good person. She's an awful person.
She's resilient.
She is resilient. She's very driven. So, because I mean, I sit there and ask myself a lot re-listening to these episodes. Did Vima create Hiram to really find her sister? Or obviously she was working on this weird-ass idea, and I think her sister died during it. So then the grief over that started gearing that project to find her. But Droven says, why did you make this thing look like a galvanized acolyte? And she just sidesteps that comment.
Yeah.
I told you if it was for aesthetical appeal, would you believe me? I mean, just flirts her way right around the fact that she's been studying these scarred monsters and it's fucked with her. And that she's creating like robots to look like it. And that is a big deal moving forward.
Yes,
I mean, not just Hiram. So that is literally a few weeks around the corner, folks. So, no, she's I mean, I'm with you though. I love her too. She's not the cackling, I'm here for blah 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 kind of like sexy girl villain. She's like a valley girl on a rampage. I just like love her tone. Like, you really thought, like, just the super bitch. I just love it. She's just so good. I know our fan base in the beginning was very divided on her because it's a very hard character to digest.
Well, she doesn't have a one note. She literally, I think, represents a human, like an actual real person. We're not 100% good. We're not 100% bad. She leans more towards being more evil than good, but she does have...
destructive.
Yeah, she does have her moments where it does peel back and you're like, oh shit, she's an actual real person. Like, there are those moments in that, which I think just makes it very complicated in a good way.
So while we're talking about her, 3-5, okay, on my mark. That was her epic return to our series, really. I mean, since then, she's been in a few mini episodes. She's kind of been here and there, helping Matthew out at the end of season 2. But in On My Mark, you literally see this person has, like, connected with the most evil entity in our series at the very end. Mm-hmm. What the hell? I mean, there's an episode called that. Really, I mean, she tore apart the acolyte that murdered her sister, and instead of, getting that revenge, like, I slaughtered it, I killed it, finally, you can rest, Rima, I killed your killer. It's like, no, now I finally got this thing, I'm going to tap into its brain. This is one that's been around for a long time. It's killed a lot of people for Doc. It's killed a bunch of vampires. This thing has a solid link. And she connects to this thing to connect with Doc. And obviously, I mean, she's doing it to undermine the DE. So her ambitions, what they did to her has not changed. She holds a grudge like crazy. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be very fun to see how all that plays out.
She may be Irish. No.
Maybe. I don't know. Bowling. Yeah, that's an Irish name. So what else in the DE? We got Commander Reed. You brought him up. So he's 3-5. So our first time hearing him. when Ivar grabs his liquor cabinet in the middle of season 2, saying, "Oh, we'll use some of Commander Reed's best."
2-5.
2-5. I'm sorry. So and 2-5, they're in Commander Reed's office, but we still don't know what a Commander Reed is. In this episode, in 3-5, we find out, bam, exactly who this is. Actually, I think it's a 2-6 when they're in his office.
Yeah, 2-6.
Yeah, 2-6 is because that's after the hire to the head. But I mean, it's all one. 2-5 and 2-6 are one big episode, really. Dark Elites, part 1 and 2. That's when you really find out what this faction is. We even hear Del Toro again in that episode, just for briefly on the phone, to link it back to that What's a Synth mini episode. Mm-hmm. And as you listen to this series, you realize there's a ton of that. Like, we try to tie in things that we've lightly introduced in an episode. We try to ground them into things like that. Like, not spoiling anything, but I just wrote an episode where I think it's 312, where Raymond Daxon's referenced. He's not in it, but he's referenced for a reason. He's just that curious cop. I don't know what's going on here in season 1 and the mini episodes and things like that, but he's not a huge part to play, but we haven't heard from him in forever. And I didn't want to bring him back, not just because I voice him, but I don't think there's a whole lot of depth to that character, but just by him being referenced, it really ties back into the things he's brought up before in the series in the past.
Just brings it back around.
It all comes back around. So, and that's the Dark Elite is the kind of faction that you would hope, if this was the real world, would almost really exist. Because me going to work, you going to work, doing your job, these are the guys that are not on the front lines, but in the dark abyss, keeping all the monsters at bay. Keeping the vampires in line. Because I think she references in 3-5, her coven was blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's like they have a network of knowing what tribes are where, who are what hives are where. They have all this in a database, and they're building these super synth robots and these evil dark minds to keep all of it in line.
And we find out with Ivar that it's not just a U.S. thing, it's all around the world that they have these factions to help keep this, all the darkness at bay. And I think overall the core of the Dark Elite is good to help, the society out. But we mainly, from our story point, is seeing the Dark Elite from Vima's evil perspective.
Right.
And her twisting it and using their resources for her own agenda.
Yeah, we joke a lot like it's the Illuminati. And I'm sure there are divisions within the Dark Elite where they sit down with like the CIA and the heads of state in different parts of the world and say, hey, we need to create a war here because this is about to happen. And we have to distract the mass public so we can handle this thing that the mass public would just make them go nuts if they knew about. That kind of thing. So I'm sure there's that aspect to it. But even in that vein, they're doing that for the betterment of civilization and for us to move on and not be extinct. So it's a very great organization. So, and I'm sure it's got a lot of levels to it and layers to it. So it'd be interesting to see how that
like the smoking man in the X-Files.
Yeah, exactly. How this you say that, and when I first thought of creating this Dark Elite, that was the first guy that popped in my mind, was like, where's that dude from in the X-Files that's sitting back there smoking all the time? I understand he's part of the CIA or the Bureau, or they've gone into his back line, but when you first see him, like in the first season of X-Files, it's like, who's this dude? Oh, this is the dude that's making shit happen. This is the guy that's really moving the world, or part of what's moving the world. And, like you got even movies like Transformers where there's like Sector 7, we keep all the, it's that. It's this dark government agency, and they control everything. And I think that was really set forth in the Yellow Eyes episode when that hillbilly cop's all like, what? Me and you were just the sheep. The Dark Elite ones, they're the ones that move society. I mean, he even gets it because he's raised in a lake town where the Dark Elite ruined their water supply with like fucking yellow-eyed mutants. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not that what about, what's Doogie's episode? I think that's, no pun intended, that's the darkest Dark Elite episode to me.
Yeah.
Is where they have this creature in this lagoon and it murders this child and is slaughtering this little community out to the side of it. And they don't care. They're experimenting out there where, a toxic waste dump is. Instead of just closing it and sectioning it off, they're playing in it. And it's costing lives, and they just don't give two shits about it. And they end up giving, that situation gives Eddie, like, his best tool to fucking move forward.
Run amok.
Yeah, it's crazy. What else in Dark Elite? What's going on over there? We got Reed. Reed's a sexist bigot.
Yep.
What about, what's the other one?
Hands-on experience.
Vima's new assistant.
Avery.
Avery Brennan.
Avery. I think she sees a lot of herself in her, so she, like, glucked her. Nope, she's going to be over here with me. And basically is just taking her under her wing.
Very sisterly.
Yeah. Just need another female around.
Maybe making up for the fact that
Yeah.
she's missing her sister or something like that.
I think one of the parts during one of the last re-listens I did that hit me was when Vima was talking to Johnny about, you know, does the skeletons usually dissipate in the sun? And, you know, I mean, Molly cuts off. Who cares at this point? But it's like, what was she wanting to do? Like, that's what my brain thinks. I mean, I know, like, again, I wrote that script, like, years ago, but I was sitting there thinking, what? I mean, does she just want to mourn, like, take the skeleton and bury it and mourn her sister? Or is like, no.
She wants to experiment.
What is she going to, like, try to clone her sister from her corpse or some shit? You cannot trust this woman. Yeah, so I'd be anxious to see where the DE goes. Didn't even know we disappeared, did you? Well, we did.
We're back.
We're back, and we're here with the great Desdemona.
Okay, I guess I'm supposed to talk about the good guys.
The good guys.
I mean,
We have good guys?
sort of.
Fucking Jessica McAvoy, when I first sent her the script over with our first, like, Malik reference, and I think it was 21, ME21, she's like, y'all are gonna have good guys this season? Because that's the mini episode right before season 3. I'm like, shh, don't tell anyone. She's like, I just feel like every time you introduce a new faction, it's worse than the last one. Like, how much badder can this get?
Yeah, there's a few good guys kind of weaved into the story, but I mean, for the most part, like, everybody's so morally gray. It's even hard to say, like, is this person going to be a good guy? Like, as a listener. And so the 3 that I had down to talk about, we've got Harper. So I didn't write down episodes that people have appeared in.
No, that's fine.
I'm not that good. I
us.
don't have them memorized, but you know, Harper's been there for a long time though. He's been there.
Mini episode 6. His drinking problem, right? Same old
song.
Right. And I mean, ultimately Harper's a good guy. He's just trying to figure out what's happening to his family and you know, obviously drinking and stuff like that. Like, he's not the best person in the world, but I mean, he's hurt. He's really motivated in his own way to figure out what happened to his family. And once Matthew's kind of gone, he takes the reins. He takes over, and he's on the mission. He's going to figure out what Finnis couldn't figure out.
Speaking of Vima, he's like,
he thinks he couldn't figure out.
We're going to help her. She's like, shit, I'm not doing that. Have fun.
There is no we.
There's no we.
And then we saw him again recently. He kind of got some answers about what happened.
Yeah.
As I said, it gets pretty messy.
The mid-season finale is, for season 3 was an eyesore.
You don't always want the answers that you're looking for.
Right.
I feel like Harper is a good guy, but his heart and his intentions are good. I just feel like life has been so shitty to him and so hard.
I mean, the last 10 years, this is like not... His family didn't go missing 2 days ago. I mean, he's had a whole decade, changed his career, everything. I mean, imagine having like 20, 25 years with a child, wife, picket fence. I mean, I say picket fence, he was still a homicide detective trying to solve crimes, trying to be good. And even there's a line in there somewhere about his wife saying, you know, no matter what, you always try to find the good or fix the situation. And then this just comes upon him. I mean, even at this point, we got him offing his son, but we still don't know why his family's gone. Like, what happened? I mean, that's a mystery, just like what happened to Matthew Finnis at this point. Like, we just know that they were taken. And now he's figuring out that they were red suits. Well, how did they get there? I mean, so it's poor dude.
Yeah. So the next good guy would be, we've already mentioned him, but Malik.
Yeah.
You know, he's running for mayor. It's pretty clear that he's
an angel.
pretty clear that he has the best intentions of Morriston in mind, but it's also clear that he will do whatever it takes to make sure his intentions come true. Like, he's not necessarily like an angel in the sense that he's going to be
he's not the savior of the planet.
If you're going to get in his way, he's gonna fight you.
Yeah. He's fucking intense. He's just an intense character because he's sent there to find out why the dead are invading heaven. I mean, and you can tell he's just thrown for a loop, and then he gets here, and you can imagine being somebody that's like absorbed into books, and all they do is read. They go to all these worlds in their mind, they see all these things, but they've never been there, and then you're just like literally flung into one of them. Here you are, this is what rain feels like. Welcome to Earth, asshole. So, that's voiced by Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
I love, he's got like this evangelical mixed with like JFK kind of tone to his they will not, I just love his cadence.
So intense.
Yeah.
Like he studied him a lot.
Like he just walks into a room, Dairy Queen or Wendy's? Which one are we having for dinner? I just love it. Let's just go to Subway tonight. Okay, to Subway we will go. Like he's just been in heaven so long that's just him. It's great.
Everything's remarkable. And then we've got Laughlin. I mean, he's pretty clearly, I don't think you can get any better than curing cancer. That's about as good guy as you can get.
Yeah, with Dr. Laughlin, he just showed up as this TV doctor.
Yeah, we hear him on the TV in the oncology ward,
right.
And then you hear about him curing cancer, and then we get him again whenever he's actually doing it, and he's wanting to. Yeah, I'm going to cure it, but he also wants to interview this kid.
Right, he's like, we put these cameras in your kid's face, is it okay? And she's like, I don't care. You just cured his cancer, you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's like, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
He wants to market this cure, but it's a real cure, so that's the reason why like Laughlin has good intentions. You don't just cure cancer because,
So, with these collective good guys, and this is really hard because this ICE episode is literally falling on like the eve where we are 1 week it's the 14th is the next mini episode, and that one's called Scaries on the Wall. And that is a Laughlin-centric episode.
It was so hard to write a summary of Laughlin without oh my god, I want to say all of these things that are happening.
Yeah, but to Desdemona's point, he's curing cancer and he's a good guy, and even though he's marketing it, it's a real thing. But what drives him in that episode, you're gonna get the answers behind
I feel like he's marketing it not to let's make the Laughlin Institute rich. He's marketing it because he wants to cure cancer. He wants you to come and be cured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he even, the little boy that he interviews in that family, he pays for their dinner. Mm-hmm. He doesn't charge them for anything because he knows that, I cannot think of the names for the cancer.
Oswald. Annie Oswald?
Yes. That the other institutions they went to, she says that they've drained them. Mm-hmm. So he's basically done this pro bono, he didn't charge this family anything.
And this gets on a touchy spot with some of the people I've talked with before on this, more in person. N.D. Erickson is our
what I was trying to think of.
Is our fictional M.D. Anderson, and if you're from our area, everybody knows M.D. Anderson's massive cancer hospital, and it's worldwide, world renowned, and they've done a lot of good. And I'm not trying to take any of that away from them within this story I've written, but being in this area, you see the dark side of that institution as well. And that's what I wanted to hammer on, because the fact that Dr. Laughlin's trying to cure cancer with methods that aren't 50 years old. And that, to me, that's a real problem in real society. And I wanted to touch on that with a fictional character, because we've lost family members and loved ones to treatments that are 40 and 50 years old, when there's other ways to do it, but that's going to stop, like Laughlin says, that's going to stop Cancer Incorporated, because it has become a money-making machine. And I know that can be a conspiracy theory rabbit hole, and that's not what I'm trying to go down. I just wanted to reference that there are other avenues out there, but they're just not the norm. And so that'd be cool to dabble with that with one of our good guys. I mean, because it's not just cancer he's curing. I mean, he's cured everything. He's cured AIDS. He's just got some way to, see diseases or something. All right. I guess the last thing I want to touch on the good guys is, so these are our stables here that are trying to do good. Malik's running for mayor of Marston. So he was a civil rights attorney, and now he's got his counterpart. Let's talk about Juliana Blaze real quick. Juliana. So again, not much of a spoiler. It's more clarifying the details of a lot of the convolution in this, or whatever would you call it? What would be convoluted? Anyway. Juliana is cloaking him. They're not a romantic love interest, like in that sense. And I know that comes off a lot because of her saying, "Let me hold you." But you got to realize, kind of like the last decade where Harper's missed his family, the last decade and then some, this woman was a young teen girl, found this thing in the woods, touches it, and has the ability to hide it. And that's like, there's no coincidences in the Morstan world or in this fictional universe. I mean, so that angel hit dead on that spot. Now, he doesn't know, but he's just like, you came across me and helped me. Now, does that mean that the ones that sent him there knew this person existed and he was pinpointed there? I don't know. Do we know? Will we ever know? Who knows? It doesn't matter, not really. But what does matter is that the fact that this person hides him. So that's why she's not just his campaign manager, and the Blaze Corporation family took this person in, put him through school, and he's been a part of society, like an emerging person that's in this world, and now he's running. And the reason he's running is they can't take it no more. All these hurricanes just slammed into the city, and now the Dark Elite can't control what they're doing because people are being snatched off the street, monsters are being reported in the news. He's done, But even then, in that episode, you can tell he doesn't want to run for mayor at that point because he's afraid that it's going to look like he's using the people to get ahead.
Yeah.
But we got an episode coming called Election Day that I'm about to start writing. It's not written yet. And that's going to be going into a lot of those inner battles that he has about that, because he's about to become the most powerful person in Morstan. And he's a good guy, so that's cool.
I also like it is brought up on My Mark, that episode that the Blaze Corp was part of the Dark Elite. So when it was helping.
Oh, yeah.
And
so that really shows her as a good guy there,
yes.
too. Like, I'm done helping you. That was my father, not me.
Yeah, and she's like, once we found out what other projects and stuff y'all are doing, we're done. Like, we've cut our funding to y'all. We're not part of y'all's organization anymore. We're going to try this on our own. So I feel like the Blaze Corp family has always been invested in the best interest of their town.
So, I mean, once you found out that if you peel back the skin of Marty, the synth that's always with Vima, the one that interrogates Sam Kinison,
mm-hmm.
if you peeled back his metal underneath this, or looked under, he doesn't have skin, but if you looked underneath his metal workings, I'm sure something's going to say Blaze Core on his chips or something like that, because they've been pulling all of that technology from this massive, these great minds as the Juliana's family. So it's really, really going to be cool to see, how that works, because to me it seems like Juliana is almost his kryptonite, and that's what scares me about this girl, like, because he's obviously cares about her a lot, because every time he gets flared up and angry, she like grounds him down, like, hey, it's cool. So it's be something to look forward to. I guess the main thing is you got this triad, these three main people here, but it doesn't seem like none of them know each other. So
darn.
They're all independently trying to help.
Well, maybe they can call the Hulk or something.
Yeah.
Crossing universes? No. Anything else on the good guys? So much needed good guys in this town, because we've touched on the USG, Sirenicide, and the DE, and all three of those guys are just crazy. So
yeah, they're all, except for the USG, I think they're all in the gray area.
Yeah. All right, let's see if there's anything else we missed. All right, so outside of the factions, but people interweave, a couple of guys I want to bring up. We saw the medical examiner, Christopher Brooks, came back. I'm not going to spend not too much long on him, but I thought it was cool because he was the one that was in the soup kitchen town.
Yeah, trying soup.
Yeah, and then he comes back and he's the one that delivers Harper the news of here's Matthew Finnis's remains, or what's left of his remains.
It's Christopher, not Chris.
Yeah. Nancy Curette. We talking about Sirenicide. I can't leave her out. She's slowly building up a whole lot more in our series, voiced by Katie Burr of Southern Gomorrah. Just a crazy character. If you watch The Harvest in 1928, you'll get to see our friend Amber Blake stand up there in a World War I's nurse uniform and playing Nancy just menacingly. But as far as her voice role, we saw her first on the Highway Harvest season with Jimmy.
Yes.
And that was an introduction to Jimmy. So to Jimmy Hemorrhage I want to talk about for a second. So Jimmy is the salesman Jim from Right Through the Heart. Yeah, Right Through the Heart, season 2, episode 1. So whenever Lena's bringing back that guy and kind of opening the door up to the hotel, and he opens the door and there's this dude sitting on the bed, which is Eddie Vile, and he's like, "What the heck?" Freaking Johnny just snaps his neck through the freaking augment, just kills him. Mm-hmm. And then she says, "The salesman Jim got to leave with them." And then we don't really reference that, except for this guy's name is Jimmy. So we will be putting that together. I mean, I'll just go ahead and put that out there because it's not really a spoiler for story, but you'll see, as this character grows, he'll reference things like, "Don't break my neck." He'll do things it's just little jabs at how he got there. But Nancy, that's his partner. Nancy has, I guess another plug for Katie. Katie wrote Nancy's backstory, and it is an amazing episode. It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Season 3, episode 11. It's probably the hardest test I've ever had as far as casting, because it takes place in the early 1800s in our version of New Orleans, and that's as far as I'm going to go with it before the cat starts meowing. But getting that cast has been some work, but Katie wrote it. She's voicing period piece Nancy, and it is a phenomenal story. I just cannot wait to see it come to life, because just reading it, I'm shaking, oh my god, this is so good. Talk about an origin story. But her, I just touch on her undying loyalty, literally. I mean, she was made by Doc. Johnny comes into the picture later, and she stays with him. He says all the time, "Nancy, you're my oldest, most loyal confidant, blah, 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 blah." That's for a reason, and I think we're going to see a lot more from that character as the series comes to a close. So Joey Trauma, we talked about a little bit. He is the new version of Matthew Finnis, the Matthew 2.0.
Matthew?
Or
Joseph
I like to think of the entity he was always meant to be. He's just on the next step to becoming something greater. He's still, I may not feel like it in this season 3, and I think season 4 will be getting more back to that, but he's still our main protagonist. I mean, this is still the story he's chronicling, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that in season 4. Once we get this leveled out, more of him getting out amongst the people again, or telling stories and things like that. Because I love that aspect of him being the one trying to uncover what's going on. Just because he's in Sirenicide doesn't mean that's just going to stop. And he's helpful. Always help. I'm here to help. Remember that was going to be your line in the season 2 theme song? I'm here to help. Really? That's my weak-ass line in the song? So we took that out.
It's a body.
I love that line. It's a body. Lena Klein, we've talked about her on another ICE episode with Jessica when she came on. So reference that, just Eddie's star-crossed lover psycho. I think we pretty much got most of the bookend on her series with Marcus DeManna coming over and playing George Rogers for us, and that was a really cool episode. So shout out to episode 3-4. Mario Lancet, he's one of the ones I got highlighted here on my list. He's the one that gets killed by the silent one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he talks about a drug called Voz. That, you want to make a note. If you got a little notepad and you're taking notes for this thing, so you're trying to understand it, VOZ, you want to understand Voz. Because that is a big thing coming up. And it's made a big deal in that episode, the fact that he was taking this drug and using it to profit off of his power that he was given in Sirenicide. And but what that drug has done henceforth to our world would be really, really cool. We talked about Mary Beth Riggins. Dr. Sammy, I love him. He's like my favorite like reference. Dr. Sammy shouldn't have done that to her. Like 447's daughter, he's the one that cuts this kid open apparently.
Yeah.
I get a big kick out of that because I can't imagine what the USG must have been like in 1906 because Johnny's, in it, but he doesn't lead it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, to our knowledge, we don't preserve children in a hive. So like this fucking dude just like, let's cut this kid open and boil it and scar it and all that like, like we're doing the acolytes. No, we'll just cut her open and send her back to the farm. And I just get this vision of this little girl just like stabbing people on the farm and like cutting animals open, just psycho little kid trying to adapt.
It's like that, is it a Pet Cemetery?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, exactly. Fucking, I get that notion like, who is this dude that thought of doing this? Because we never hear from him again. It was just later, Johnny, when he gets back to the farm, Johnny says, I'll put her out of her misery, because that's all you can do at this point. I'll offer you a way out. Makes 447 an acolyte.
Right.
What happened to Dr. Sammy? Johnny...
Dr. Sammy.
Kill him? This guy's gotta go. He's gone.
He did what?
Molly Needles, we didn't really touch on her too much. She's, like, what's the deal? She's obviously one of the big reasons that Eddie Vile is starting to really not like Johnny, or spiting again. Not saying not like him, but just pissed off all the time that here's this girl that was pulled out of this wreckage by the leader of their Sirenicide group, and now she's up there in the number 2 and 3 spot. Like, what the hell's going on there? And he won't tell her. I mean, he won't tell him, or hasn't yet. So it seems like he keeps saying, I'll tell you, and then he don't. Or maybe he did and we don't know. I don't know. But I mean...
And then he pairs Molly with Eddie.
Yeah. To teach her all these things. And Molly's become a character on her own. I mean, she took down an acolyte by herself without any dark elite technology or anything like that. She just reflected her death state and killed him.
And enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was cackling as she tore him apart. And then everybody acts like it's a legend. I heard she killed 96. No way, dude. Those guys are hardcore or whatever. It's like it's just like an unspoken legend in between them. I think that's pretty cool. So while we're talking about Sirenicide, going into wrapping this up, there are these things called the idle ones. I want to clarify that in this episode if you're listening, have that kind of knowledge going into the back half of the season. The idle ones are like Kara Thornton, Olivia Turner, at one time Matthew Fennis. These people that have been scarred, they've been given the luminescence, they got this anomaly thing, or they've been given this power through this anomaly force and put back into the world. And they're just kind of like on sleep mode.
Laying dormant
without being in a hive, going about their day-to-day lives. And yeah, I mean that's pretty, big going forward. Like, who are these people? What are they for? And we've already touched on the fact that Mrs. Riggins was another one of those. And in that last story with Harper, you hear that Mrs. Riggins got killed, was slaughtered. So the USG has been taking out harvesters and idle ones, killing indiscriminately. No matter if you're with Sirenicide or you were just worked on by Sirenicide, you're dead.
Yeah.
And they're on this hunt.
Warpath.
So I just wanted to kind of reference that, clarifying a few other things. The an anomaly gift is like a power that once this has been done to you, you may get. Kind of like one of my favorite lines from Interview with a Vampire. The dark gift's different for everybody. Some of us can do this, some of us can do that. And a lot in that vein. Like, this anomaly gift is, it's present in you, and the scarring opens that up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see we really don't know what that's going to do for Joey Trauma, but we know what it did for Eddie. Eddie has a very similar power to Johnny. He can manipulate dead flesh. But obviously Johnny's got something that Doc sought out, and it's got to be more than just manipulating dead flesh. So it's kind of wanting to see, why would Doc not kill this guy? Come back to Morston and still let him run around? There's got to be something up with that. So
well, you also have like I guess, air quotes, like gifted people. So they react differently if they get the anomaly gift.
All right, they get scarred.
And yeah, if they get scarred, that reacts a little bit different, and they're kind of sought out after.
So just to clarify a little bit for you guys, luminescence is the scarification process. Okay, that's when you're scarred by a member of Sirenicide, and they give you this, as they keep calling it in the series, the light. And that is a power that literally glows from within you when you're triggering it. I mean, I think Matt, when he's going down in the hive, he says, "Oh my God, my scar is glowing." It's like, that can almost be involuntary. And the people have learned to harness it like Eddie. Let's see how well you can aim without your eyes. I'm sure when he was crushing the eyes of fucking Blackjack 9, his scar was probably flared out glowing at that point, that kind of thing. Same thing when he killed George Rogers. So it's just something to keep in mind. So the luminescence is the light within you. The anomaly gift is something, like you were just saying, you might have in you whether you had that done or not. And that explains, intuition and things like that on a different level. The augment is brought up a couple of times in the series. Just to clarify what the augment is. It is unseen, and it is like literally the essence that holds all these realms together in this place. Like it's probably how Malik got here. What he traveled through to get to our world, our Earth, those kind of things. It's what Johnny reaches into to see, oh, here's this woman, she's dead. Let me reach into the augment. Oh, look, that's what she looked like when she was alive. And he starts pulling from that to bring her back. Those kind of things. I mean, it's not everybody can just use that, walking in the street. But if it's somebody who's like about to cross the street and their intuition's like, don't, it's that voice that tells you to stop. All that's coming from this plane.
Or we have Sophie Taylor, who can see the dead realm.
Right. So, like, how does she see this other realm? She's gifted. So, yeah, just to kind of clarify on those things, because you hear stuff like the augment, the anomaly gift, the luminescence. Because obviously the luminescence can be taken from you. We've learned that with Lena. Even though she was scarred, the light was siphoned out of her body, literally destroying her and making her more, susceptible to diseases and so forth. So, certain tools can be imbued with this luminescent power. We've learned that. Some of the Sirenicide tools are what we call medically induced metal, and they have been imbued with this power from these powerful beings. And I think that some beings of ancient power probably put the soul lock together and things like that, like knew another way to harness this augment ability into a device. So just don't dig too much into it. You'll hurt your head. It hurts my head when I'm writing it. All right. Before we move on to the next segment, anything else on characters, factions? Anything you think people should be ready for the next half of the season? We got what do we got coming up? I guess a little bit of a preview. We got more on the good guys.
A lot more of that coming.
I think the red suit arc at this point, other than flashbacks, is done.
Yeah.
You're not going to be hearing any. Ryan Powers triggered that soul lock and made every single one of those demons from hell and devils from hell mortal. Something
that we may see periodically, maybe not, just depends if we feel like it or not, is there was plenty of, like you see in many episode What the Hell, that there were some Rotandans or red suit people trapped in our realm when that happens. So I mean, you may have some.
Yeah, you still have somebody walking around that hasn't been killed by an angel or brutally, shot to death by their dad.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a lot of these red suits, and you gotta ask yourself at the same time: is a red suit the only thing that came from this hell, this land of destruction? Probably not.
No.
There's probably some abominations or creatures somewhere, So now they're susceptible now to injury and things like that. What else? Try not to spoil anything.
I know.
I think we're going to be getting a little bit more with Vima and Doc, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they connected. So where does that go from there?
Well,
yeah.
Well, meow.
And what I think one of the bigger things is what was up with Joey when he told Harper, I solved the soul lock thing. Be careful.
Well, I mean, it's like we were just talking about.
Is Joey a seer?
Joey is starting to have, I guess, visions, and just like any skill, he's still trying to figure out exactly how this even works. But he is catching glimpses and of the future, things of that nature. And I think that was
the mid-season finale.
That was the last one. So episode 8 is when he reveals to Harper, look, man, not sure what's going on, but just watch your back.
These visions.
Just watch your back.
I'm excited to see where Joey is gonna go with this, because I think him reaching out to Harper still shows that he is Matthew.
You hear that? That's the conjuring of the anathema
Yeah.
of us. We brought up Joey and what he is, and the storm's coming down.
So
on
I'm
us.
excited to see how his character is going further, like if it's compromised either or way, if it leans more towards Sirenicide, is it more towards like Harper and humanity?
Is
Where
he a
all
good
that
guy?
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, he just joined the fucking assholes that did this to him. Harper had a point. You know, like, oh, you got your dumb new name, and you're just standing in line with the same idiots that did this to you, you know.
God damn it, Matt.
And that really is a testament. Damn it, man. That's a testament to Harper's good side. Like, that he is a true good guy, because he sees that as a mistake on Joey's part.
Yeah.
Or Matthew's part. You know, seers apparently are really rare in this place, because the only one we've referenced has been Evelyn Seer, you know, and she's the one that saw the Romans invading Britain. So I mean, that's a big deal if that is what he is, you know. So we'll see. That's one of the things I'm excited about. And just how the season's gonna end, man. Like, it's starting to heat up, definitely.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll be right back with our top 3s.
Ooh.
Okay, so in this segment, we are going to be going over our top 3 parts of Sirenicide from season 1 up until 3.8. So if on y'all's top list is something that happens in episode 10, you're going to have to omit that.
Oh man. Sorry, here I go. No.
Season 7.
Yeah, season 7, baby. Joey Trauma's backstory. Or Matthew Finnis's backstory. So, all right. We don't have to go into... Somebody waving at us?
Christina.
We don't have to go into a certain order if you want. I'm doing mine from 3 to 1. Like,
Backwards? Really?
Yes, your least. to
my
your
least to
favorite.
my favorite.
Oh, okay.
That's me. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be that precise. So I figure we'll just start off. We'll go around the table with each one, that kind of thing. Like, just not each person do all 3 of theirs at once, but
Just one.
Gotcha.
One at a time.
One at a time. All right. So Amy, you go first.
I'm gonna start off with I guess it's a standalone, Yellow Eyes. I love that one. It has, just someone that's not that important from the No Sleep in it.
David Cummings isn't important.
Just kidding.
That's why we exist.
He did an amazing part as Marvin Fletcher in that, the whole premise of it. I like a lot of it because it's based off of our hometown, mine and Johnny's. Even like the whole, like, watch out for that antique wagon wheel over there. His dad actually has one.
Yes, yeah, antique wagon wheels next to his wooden porch on their house.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So things like that I get a kick out of. There's still the whole lake town vibe of it, because we are from that lake town. And the episode itself is really interesting. Gives another glimpse into the world, and I like the premise of where we get part of it while they're there in person, and then the other part of the interview is him listening to it on the way back. And then the whole, like, turning around really quickly and trying to get there. All of that.
Joe?
That's some dangerous driving there.
It was.
It's my turn?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one I'll bring up is actually from season 1, episode 5. It is the first time that Eddie and Matthew, like, they have their first confrontation after Matthew finds
Blackjack.
what's left of Blackjack. Yeah. So he's outside and he's calling Charles, because that's really the only other person that he had spoken to regarding the ambulance man. So mid conversation, there he is.
So your favorite part is when he shows his balls for the first time.
You know, I guess.
Bullshit! Blackjack was a failure, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Go answer your master.
Well, I mean, just like the back and forth between the two, and then like just the way that Matt just works his buttons, to get him.
So
to
it is a hierarchy.
Yeah, and then so you know that he gets under his skin there, and just like the music behind it, like how it shifts when it's like, well, hello or whatever, you know, and it's just like, that's a good one. I like that.
That's a good one.
Okay, so mine are definitely not in any order, but they are kind of like thematically linked, and that while like Matthew's story is really cool and like that's the main point of the show, I really enjoy the episodes that kind of just show you the world building and like how big this universe is and what's going on in there and all the other things that are happening. So like listening through on like my third listen through, I was like, oh, definitely this is like the first one that put me on the track of that theme was Rima.
Awesome.
Like the episode with her and establishing like, okay, yeah, vampires exist in this universe, but she's a badass and she's like the kind of vampire that you want vampires to be.
Right.
She's not a sparkly vampire.
She's not like, let me kiss you on your neck. She like rips the dude open.
Or like, even like she's that seductress, but she's not even like an ugly like Dracula vampire. It's like it's the vampire that you want. And so I was like, this is definitely one of those moments that like shows me what this world can bring.
Cool. My number 3 would have to be You, Me, the Gerbil, and the Flea. That is one of the coolest mini episodes, if not my favorite mini episode we've ever had. It's like a movie in like 8 minutes. I feel like it was the first time I think we got to work with Kevin Crowe and his voice acting, and then Dominic James, his voice acting. I felt like when we were putting that episode together that I'm just listening to these, I'm like, how the hell did we get these voice actors? This is so good, you know. I mean, just their back, like kind of like you were talking about with Eddie and Joey, is like the back and forth in that episode is what makes it.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean,
that's some top-notch acting, right?
And then one of our fans wrote in and said how that was probably out of all of our horror stories, that was the scariest one because it's so grounded in reality. Like, here's these two massive figureheads in this 1347 time frame talking about architecting, designing the Black Death. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's the concept that I kind of came up with when I wrote it, but you can write it all you want. When you hear those guys take it really makes you realize sometimes how the writers like this and the performers are like this, because they just brought that to life. And of course the Darth Vader line in there is awesome. All too easy. But I just love the music, the atmosphere. Amber wailing down there in the courtyard. Oh, does that one down there have it? You know, just like, yes, she does. You know, he starts just describing how disgusting it is to die of that disease, and none of that's fictionalized. There's no luminescence in that. There's no anomaly gift. That's just dying from the Black Plague. So that was probably my number 3. I just love those. Number 3. Oh, yeah. Love the atmosphere of that. What's your second of your top 3?
447. That one, mainly because it has the best line ever. Is that a body? No, I'm just kidding.
Is that a body? Oh, if we're not answering any of that stuff, we're so sorry. The phone's like way over there.
Yeah, we can't really see it.
So, yeah. But this is more for the podcast anyway. But you guys, we love you. Our Patreon family. We will comment afterwards.
Another thing I just really like, this is another one I feel like we experiment on how we put the episodes together, as far as like reading the journal and then doing pieces of it. Like, you know, Matthew
back and
reading
forth
it.
between the journal entries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked that concept of it. I liked 447's story with his daughter and how all that came about and him trying to hide it and it got to the point where he couldn't hide the little girl anymore and being at his last leg of not knowing what to do. And then we get a little bit more of Johnny in there and kind of sets it up like, is he doing this as a mercy? Is he, you know, like I feel like it sets up that world a little bit more.
Yeah. I feel like if we had 10 seasons to tell this story without turning it into like The Simpsons or Walking Dead or something like that, I would love to have that backstory of him bringing that little girl home to the farm. Like I think I referenced it earlier in this episode of just the craziness that must have been like
Murder child.
Yeah, like, you know, but hiding those bodies from the other hands or the people in town and things like that, to the point like he had to take her back to this church and be like, I don't know what to do. I've lost everything and now she's killing everything.
Yeah, or the fact that, you know, the USG is like basically doing a church.
Yeah, but they just have some derelict church on the outside of town.
That's
like
healing people, you know?
Come get us saved. No, I agree. That's a 447's story is awesome, and it does. It's another one that's all encapsulated really in one episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Vinny's syringe is just kind of a cool backdrop to it.
Yeah, and him pacing and like so angry and stuff, and
punching his truck, and then the whole time 447's narrating the shit out of it.
And then hearing the doggies.
Okay.
Back to me. So, my number 2 is the scene in season 2, episode 6, Elite Darkness Part 2. The diner scene between Vima and Eddie.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's really, really like, it's kind of weird, but I just like, Eddie's character to me is like really cool because he's got like this very sarcastic, like, fuck you, you know? So he's there and he's hitting on this waitress with obviously the intentions of, well, he's gonna probably murder this girl.
Right.
And then Vima, and like just completely out of character, because I mean Vima's a bitch. Like, why does she even care about this waitress? But she goes out of her way to
save her.
To save her, or at least try to.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's no way she could have foreseen what happened next. So yeah, Eddie obviously for those that don't know, I'm gonna spoil it for y'all because y'all should have listened to this already. But yeah, he just slits that lady's throat. So I thought that was pretty cool because
I think
despite her best efforts, that waitress still died.
Yeah, and that sound effect he uses there is the same one we actually put in the theme song for that season too.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, and it's crazy too because, you know, in some of our reviews, that was where a lot of I guess the voice acting criticisms came on Vima's character. So I think it's cool that that made it to your top 3 of our season, and some people have like torn that scene apart.
Oh, I like it.
But I do too. Like her listing, well, this one's in storage.
Yeah.
And
how would you like me to list them? Like,
yeah.
I don't
Would
give
you
a
like me to
fuck.
list them? Blah blah blah. I don't give a fuck. like till she's like this engineer analytical mindset, and he's just like this psycho primitive killer. No, that's a good scene. Who's the waitress? Was that Sheila that was the waitress in that episode? Good job, Sheila.
Okay.
All right.
So my next one is I don't know the episode title, but it's where Jordan Gibson and he's like finds the lady in the parking lot.
Oh,
like he's
the
scarred.
liquid.
And that one, just for like expanding that universe, you know, we've seen like Eddie and how like they have used the ambulance and like the car accidents and stuff, and it was just really like unsettling to be like, oh, these are the other tricks, because it was very much this like classic horror story of like, in this universe, is she going to be like a ghost, or you know, what is this? And it's just like another way to get people to scar them, and so it was pretty unsettling. I liked that.
Yeah, no, that actually, I think a few people have heard some of our ICE episodes. That was I guess if we were to have one, that would be our pilot. That was the concept episode for even making the podcast. I did I was all nervous. We had a band practice and everything, and I got over here with just a mic, recorded an improv of this lady liquefying in this guy's hands in a parking garage, and him going crazy. It doesn't go to the extent of the episode. Like, the episode's way deeper. But it was like, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and you guys came over, and I was like, I just did like a two music track, like 2-track music track. There's just 2 simple instruments underneath the background. I go, this is kind of an idea, guys, I have for us podcast thing. And when we got done, everyone's just kind of looking at me, and I'm like, oh, shit, this sucked. No, dude, that was really good. Did you, so that was cool.
But it also kind of just felt like, while it fit the universe and it explained that, like, it felt like just this really terrifying story by itself. Like, that's what I really loved about it.
I mean, there is the Jackie Bernstein thing. That's the next standalone after it, but I think that one really set the precedent for stuff like Shutter Love and things like that in the future. That would just be like, here's a standalone episode that has nothing to do with Matthew Fennis, has nothing to do with, it's just, check this creepy shit happening out.
You came!
Yeah. You came! All right, my turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Amy touched on it a little bit earlier in our season wrap-up from season 1 to 3.8, but I wanted to bring it up again. I think probably the biggest shock, or one of the biggest shocks, has been Michael from Dark Tranquility being on our podcast. And it's not like a bragging right or a badge of honor as much as it is just as genuine shock still. I'll do a re-listen. I've just done 8 of these things since we've created it. Every time we get to Elite Darkness, I still get giddy. Like a little fangirl. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it's like one of my favorite singers and he's about to start saying something I wrote. I can't believe this. This dude tours the world, 8 to 9 months out of the year, Grammy Award winning freaking band. And here he is, just, being on a doctor on our little show is just a testament to his character. Not his character in the show, but his character as a person. Because I was so nervous when I approached him, like at Scout Bar, when we just opened for them. And like, hey, I have this podcast. Yeah, listen to it. It's like, what? You think you share these links on Facebook and things like that. You don't realize, that people actually click on shit. So he's like, yeah, it's really cool. I'm like, well, would you do a voice? And he said, yeah. And it's a cool character. And I know I don't want to overstep my bounds, with someone to take that much time out of their busy schedule. But we have already set talks with him to have that guy come back. None of that's written yet. I don't know how we're going to do it. I have a lot of ideas, but I just don't think it'll ever be the same as when those lines came in, because he was here's this guy who's played in front of thousands and thousands of people, just genuinely like nervous to voice act, because it's out of his element. And he fucking nailed it. He's such a good doctor. And poor Christina, all these people harp on Vima's character in our reviews and stuff. And it's like, she had to act alongside like this Gothenburg metal god, like, and just be like, no big deal. Here I'm acting opposite the biggest celebrity that's been on our show so far. So kudos to her again. And thank you so much to Michael from Dark Tranquility for being on our humble little show. Chef number 1.
Might sound a little conceited, but it's the Molly Needles. But okay, so it's kind of like a 2-parter. So it's the Molly Needles episode, and we get to hear like Johnny finding her, and then I like how we went back and did the Heartless, and it shows how she got to that, and it literally like the mini episode ends where the Molly Needles episode begins.
Right.
So I really love that transition, and it's got the Heartless in there by Gardenia. It's one of my favorite songs.
Prequels are always better.
Yes.
What?
Sorry.
So I liked how that whole thing transitions. I was so nervous to do the Molly Needles episode. I didn't do a whole lot of the voicing beforehand because if you haven't noticed, I've got a very distinct voice. So it's, even if I try putting an accent or go deeper, you can always tell it's me. So I haven't done a lot of the other episodes. So I was really nervous. So I was very, very happy with the way the Molly Needles episode turned out. And then the Heartless was fun to voice act because one of our friends from work, Steven, played her boyfriend, Jake. And so we would play his take, and then I would act alongside of it, and it was really hard because I kept laughing because I've never heard him sound like this.
Jesus,
someone I
bitch.
talk to all the time.
Yeah.
But mostly, the song that plays in, I think it very well sets up Molly's character.
People from Sweden are really nice.
Oh yeah, they let us use
So we
the
got
song.
Michael from Dark Tranquility being on the show. Then we have Nicholas Engelin, the guitarist of In Flames, taking one of his bands from back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and letting us use one of those tracks in the song The Heartless in the episode The Heartless, and it plays also in the Molly Needles episode. That song I think plays in its entirety at the end of the episode, and I give the plug and all that to it then, but it's more than anything. I mean, it's just, yeah, dude, you can do it. Are you sure? Yeah, go for it. Heck yeah, do it. You know, and it's just because that song means so much to that story. I mean, it's talking about a lot of things that if you read the lyrics of The Heartless, this coming arc is not going to be a surprise at all. But no one noticed it because it's wrapped up in a metal song. So they just kind of breeze. But it's talking about bringing life to something that caused you so much pain. So it's
yeah, so I think it really sets up Molly.
It's a really good song, and it sets up her character and a lot of things to come for our stories. That's a damn good number one. I don't think I'm going to top that one.
Oh.
Joe, what's your number one?
Number one for Joe is season 3, episode 5. On My Mark. That's not really a specific scene, but just the episode overall. Like, it's definitely the most action-driven episode we've ever had, and it's almost like I was sitting in that trailer with Vima with headphones in my ears, listening to these guys go through this complex, hunting down, was it 808?
808.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting down 808, and like even when the one guy had his earbud out of his ear, and he's like
screaming.
Yeah, it's just like, holy shit, somebody go fucking run and put that thing back in his ear. Like it's pretty cool, and like up until now, like Vima was just like, yeah, you knew she was like some kind of scientist or whatever because she designed this Hiram thing.
Yeah, and she says to all those people, I've been out in the field, like, really?
Yeah, and now here she is, like in her elements, and it's very evident that she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Made her even scarier.
Mm-hmm. It did.
Yeah.
It's like, we only lost one person, and she's all telling that girl, you can't freak out like this. All just like reassuring her, and then later in the episode, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jessica Perry did a really good job as Avery.
She fucking nailed it as Avery. Can't wait to have her back on another episode. So number one.
I told you, mine
they're
not in an order.
They're all equal.
But you actually mentioned it when I was talking about my other one, but it's the ghost story. Because
Okay.
I'm just a sucker for a good ghost story. They're my favorite stories. And so no matter where, of course, he goes there, Matthew goes there and he's thinking this is going to lead him to Johnny and this is all that. And it turns out to be a completely different story, but it doesn't matter at all because it's just a really good ghost story. It slowly progresses with, even though those characters too, the Bernsteins, you get so much, their whole sad, freaking devastating life.
Mm-hmm.
And this murder, all in one. It's just so many emotions.
That's a really good one. I know that was so close to being on mine.
Well, we were so nervous about making that our second episode, too. Because we got to let people know that there's a story and that they're standalones. So we'll make the second episode a standalone. And now every season, the second episode is a standalone. Always is. We had Yellow Eyes and Shutter Love this season. And it was just like, oh man, now everybody's going to want us to be an anthology podcast. Because you set up this.
But they even though they're standalone, though, they build the world.
Correct.
And they let you know that not only is all of this stuff happening, not only do you have, the USG and all of these powers and this crazy stuff, but you also have the ghosts, and, like we said earlier, and vampires and werewolves and this really complicated universe.
Correct. Convoluted. It's the word of the series, according to the reviews. I think there's a good story buried in there somewhere under all that bad acting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
I think one of my favorite parts of that episode is Gus. Just his laugh at it. You said I'd never have your heart.
No.
I know, he's like,
And I remember we had the blanket for it back then. We didn't have the hot box. Y'all can't see out of frame over here, but you can't see it all on the podcast. But but it was so crazy because he's in this moving blanket fort, and I'm just like, he's so nervous because I think that was one of the first things he ever voice acted.
Yeah, it was episode 2. So
and he's just like, I was like, just say you never had your heart. And he just, if you haven't seen the live footage, he's the dude wrapping the organs up. over to the side that's got the long white coat live, stealing the show over there.
Yeah, stealing the show.
Gus Camphora, dude, is just a natural born stage actor. It's just never done it. He's so good. But he got in there and I was just like, he's like, all right, you said I'd never have your heart. Looks like whatever, I don't remember the exact line. And then he just starts, he does this like weird hold, like, I'm like, oh my God. And every time I do a re-listen, it just like, God, that dude's nuts.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps wondering, that guy that's evilly laughing, okay, later on, is he such an... Everybody that listens to our show always wants to take that performance, that killer, and plug him in somewhere else. Like, I'm like, no, dude,
He's just a crazy killer guy.
He's just a crazy killer guy. It's like, there's got to be more to this dude. That's just a testament to his performance on that. So, good job, Gus. Good pick, Desdemona. All right, so mine's going to get a little blubbery. I'm sorry. But my number one, like, sadness, not blubbery, like, what's in my stomach? But, so I wrote Right Through the Heart, and up until recently, until the writing of 312, it was the most emotional thing I think I've ever written. It was the hardest thing to ever write, just because that's the episode where we unveil... There's so much, talk about a movie or a whole series in one episode. You got this girl who was going to be raped and killed in season 1, and she got operated on, and then her killer shows up on her doorstep, and we get this whole trippy backstory. But there's a scene in there where she gets her power siphoned out of her by Johnny. And that's emotional too, because Jessica's just screaming and all that, but there's this part where it's, there's no one here. They left. They left me here. Oh God, why? And when I got that take, I was at work. I get a lot of my takes, I'm at work, and I'll put my headphones in, still working, and I just hit play. Like, by that point, we're in the middle of season 2, so I've gotten auditions before, and I was really excited. Like, oh, cool, Jessica, we've talked about a lot of how to do this character, and she just sent it to me like, okay, the takes are done, let me know what you think. I'm like, okay, hit play, listening to him, like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Why are you here on my doorstep? And just going through, like, dude, she just killed it. She's Jessica. But then it gets to that point, and I stopped doing what I was doing, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go take a break. And I like walked up to the patio table on the side of our dealership, and you were there.
I was still working there.
And I walked in, I took my headphones out, and I like just had tears like down, like, oh my God, that is. I like felt so bad for this woman that. But I mean, I wrote it. It's supposed to be like that. But again, it's just that element of somebody bringing it to life to the point. And that was just the raw take. Hadn't been edited. Hadn't done no music, no magic, nothing like that. None of the sound effects. It's just her raw. You know, they left me here alone. Why? Why did he leave me? Why did he do this to me? Like, oh my God. And then she goes all like, the salesman Jim got to leave with them. And she's just that whole take. And just the range of emotion she does in that one episode just blew me away. Like, just fucking, that is still probably my favorite part of our show. Like, nothing I've done yet has like hit me to this point. Mm-hmm. So it makes me really nervous to see what's going to happen with this next character we're introducing in 312. This woman, Miss Flowers, we'll just say. Because it's another one of those episodes where a person's got to go through a whole lifetime. Yeah, and you'll see to come. So
here,
stay tuned.
And Jessica can't do that one, so someone else is gonna have to knock that out of the park or get recast. All right, so I got a couple honorable mentions, just because. I mean, these didn't quite make my top 3, but the Little Wolf Moon trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Trilogy. There's 2 of them. We said before there's going to be a 3rd one. So we got 2 mini episodes: Lady Wolf Moon and Little Wolf Moon, and again a testament to Addison Peacock and her abilities of acting. It's just that we've been watching this season 2 of Westworld when we got those takes in. That season. But anyway, I mean, that's just my opinion. I just did not. I mean, season 1's awesome, but there's Dolores.
Yes.
And there was a point when I was listening to Lady Wolf Moon's takes when she's just like, "Your name, Miss Opham. I called you your name." I'm like, dude, that sounds like Dolores.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when we were listening to him down here in the studio, I'm like, that's like, if Rachel Wood did this, I was like, dude, Addison's so awesome. And then you like listen to this scared little girl in the first one, like, Keith, help me, please. And then it just turns into this wiping this glass down. Are you crazy? We gotta, yeah. Well, a wolf can't open a door. It just evolves so much. And I mean, I already know where I'm going with her in the finale to her arc, and it's just such a cool little story. And then building on your yellow eyes thing you brought up, doing donuts in the parking lot of the half abandoned mall down here in Texas City, early Sunday morning. I did it like everybody's still at church. Mic'd up this microphone here, this Yeti mic in my backseat. There's a behind Sirenicide video on our YouTube page, so you can see this. And I have like the laptop seat belted into my passenger seat, and I just start making all these donuts, trying to get the dash to vibrate the right way, because in that episode, Matthew Finnis has to cut a U-turn when he gets the news. David Cummings or Fletcher calls and is like, they're here, help me. And he's like, I'm coming, shit, I'm an hour away. And he just cuts a U-turn in the middle. That is me doing the donuts in that parking lot at like 7:30 in the morning. And then later there's this cop coming by, and I'm like, all right, let me go. But that was funny. There's this red van or something like that, and I think it's in the YouTube video, and I had to stop for a second because it's just like creepering. Like, what is this guy doing out here? Going like, and in the YouTube video it cuts because I cut that long ass time I was waiting. I was like, bye, and I just started doing donuts again. So that was a fun part of the series so far. So anything else? Top 3's done?
Done.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us in this portion of the ICE episode. There's already been like over an hour of material before we did this of us doing a recap. And guys listening to the podcast, we're talking to all of our lovely Patreons and our Sirenicide Patreon only group. They got to view this through video feed here in the studio. And if you want to be a part of that Patreon and join these lovely people watching us, feel free to go to Sirenicide's Patreon at patreon.com/Sirenicide. Just $1 will get you a lot of extra content and access to things like this. So for
see my ugly mug.
Yeah, you get to see all of our ugly mugs. But yeah. So Joe, if you do the honors of shutting down the live stream.
Gladly. Good job, Matthew Finnis.
Wait, how do I do this?
You hit the finish button.
Finish.
Finnis is
that,
gonna hit.
All right, where's the...
Cancel!
No, hit share. I know, we're recording.
Share?
Yeah. All right, so we're sharing it right now, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So closing out the ICE episode here, I want to do an updated shout-outs list. I know we did a shout-out show last time, but that was like almost 3 months ago. So I want to give it up to Amber Blake.
Yay, Amber!
Amber is one of our first Patreon subscribers, and she's been with us for like 14 months now at the $10 level, and that is just cool. Amber's like, what? Shit! There's all my money's going. I need to cancel that. I'm just messing with you. Amber's been on our show. She's played Nancy Curette live, so she's just such an integral part of our support culture. We love you.
Yes.
And hopefully you're getting a chance to listen to this and not going crazy with how busy you are. Denise Kaminsky, she's got she's our first $35 level Patreon supporter. So she's got her character that she helped develop with me and voice. All that's coming on a very cool retro vintage 1980s, late 80s, early 90s episode that's coming out about a pharmacist. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But that's coming very soon. That's that is August 28th. So just in a couple of weeks. So look out for that one. JP Goins, man, he's again been with us from the get-go. He's one of my co-workers at my day job, and he's supported us, and he's actually not there anymore, and even where he works now, he's still supporting what we do. So thank you, JP.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, very cool guy. Michael Scher, again, another one that's been with us since the get-go, over 14 months supporting us on Patreon.
It goes back to our childhood days.
Yeah. And then Rose.
Hi, Rose.
Rose is, probably, we always say all the time, our number one fan, because she's just been supporting us from the get-go, always active on our live streams, always sharing our content. Just the support is crucial. It's like tattooed in her DNA, and we love her for it. Kelly, very, very like right behind her. Kelly Suzuki, just so cool. I remember we sent her the no sleep pen and all the stickers and stuff like that, and how appreciative she was and shared that. And she, even with her, I think she said like her exchange rates are getting crazy down there where she lives, and she's changed. She said it changed things around in her life. I mean, I can't imagine what you're going through when your economy just changes that quickly from where you live and how it's governed. And she's through it all still supports us. You know, again, I always tell people, even if it's $1, and she was supporting us at like the $15 level for a long time. So I mean, she's I don't care if she gives 10 cents or if she gives nothing. She's done.
She made that really cool
I was
poster
going to say
thing.
that.
Yeah, the one with the baseball cap and the scalpel.
Yeah.
Maybe we can drag that up in the group and repin it for a while where you guys can see that.
Yeah.
Waylon has been supporting us. He's been to our live show. He's got a character that's been on the show. Waylon's got a character coming in the next few episodes that will be named. So we're not going to drop that yet. But when you hear the name Waylon, you might remember this conversation. But thank you so much. Waylon is not only is he a devout listener of the show, he's a devout like spreader of it, like just telling everybody about it. He's got the Sirenicide cards in his car, and whenever he goes anywhere, he passes them out and talks about the show. He always talks it up. He's always got questions of it. He's always super positive. Celine DeSantis, again, been there with us for a long time, supporting the show. I know she's not a super active Facebook person, so she's not in our group and all that kind of stuff, but she's there, she's listening, and she's so supportive. Scott Fontenot from the ScaryDad podcast, co-host of ScaryDad, helping us out on some stuff we're going to be going on a little deeper at the end of the show. This asshat Joe Mora.
Wait, I'm still donating?
Giving us $1. And then this other asshat Amy.
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm messing with you. And Christina Ashworth, another part of the asshat panel. No, I mean, it's just, I tried to support our Patreon, but apparently since I created it, wouldn't let me donate $1. I just wanted to have one in there, so I don't get that either. I've tried like 3 different emails. It's weird. But I promise I'll pour enough funds into it other places.
Keep your own money.
Tommy Laporte, if you're listening to this, dude, I've tried reaching out to your Twitter handle and a few other things just to thank you. I've never, because you're not on Facebook apparently, but you've been supporting this thing since we launched our Patreon with your $1. So thank you so much. And one day I look forward to meeting you or talking with you. This guy Jay, who's been supporting us since the first few months of our Patreon launching. I just found out the other day it's Jason Cisneros. He is the guitarist, he was the quick guitarist who's only there for a few months with us in Shades of Anger. Oh. So way back, buddy of mine, we've had a lot of conversations about gaming and things like that, and he was in a band I was in a long time ago, so that was really cool. I messaged him the other day, I'm like, are you Jay on Patreon? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what?
That's cool.
Yeah, that was really cool, because the Patreon logo is always like a little anonymous picture, and his just recently changed to like a photo of him, and I was like, oh, I know who that is. That's Jason Cisneros, man. That's fucking cool. Lizzie, friend of Amy.
Yes.
Friend of the show.
She's voiced a couple times on there.
She's been a virus. Freaking in the
Elizabeth
Try
Davison.
the Soup episode. Yeah. So that's
and
cool.
then she was another one as well too.
Kenneth Bryant, man, what a voice actor.
Yes.
Phenomenal voice actor, and he's been supporting the show now for 7 or 8 months and been on the show. He's so cool. Bravo, he's one of the Bravo brothers most recently. I mean, he's done 3 or 4 roles for us. And
he's Sims, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my sleep. I just love it, man.
Yeah.
He's such a cool. Yeah, he's in the Dreams episode.
Yeah, I like that one.
So, shout out to Kenneth. Gareth Gareth is the doctor in the Wisdom That Fades episode. He's the actual doctor.
Oh.
So he's from way across seas, and I think you're in Greece. You can correct me if I'm wrong out there, but I found him in one of the groups, the voice acting groups, and then he got into the show, started listening to the show, and started supporting the show, and he has ever since. This guy Brandon Boone. I don't know who he is.
Who's that?
Who's Brandon Boone? Brandon is awesome. I mean, he's our music on our show. I could only aspire to have like anything that touches what he does. Most recently, he did that story I wrote, and it's just so weird because you listen to No Sleep and you hear the movements behind it and what he composes, and it's so cool. But hearing a story you actually wrote and then have him compose something underneath it, because you know where your head was when you wrote those paragraphs, and then having him bring that to life was just gave me so much more respect for him than I already had. I didn't think I could have more. And then obviously met him twice at the live shows here in Houston, and when we were trying to set up and get everything, figuring out how we were going to open for No Sleep, he was my main point of contact, super helpful, and I'm just glad he supports us on Patreon.
Yes.
Dan Lefebvre of Based on a True Story podcast, and I can't say this because I get bitched at by a bunch of people, but it's probably my favorite podcast.
What did you say?
I love that show. It's so cool. He just takes every movie that has Based on a True Story like as its tagline and goes into like, nope. Yep.
That's wrong.
It's great though, because the History Channel used to have a show like that when I was a kid, where like they would take Braveheart and like the Battle of Stirling Bridge actually happened at a bridge, even though there's no bridge in the movie, and like all those kind of, it's like that, only a podcast. And the research this guy does, I don't know how he releases. I think it's a bi-weekly show or weekly show, but I don't know how he gets all that done. And just it's crazy. He's awesome. So thank you, Dan. Jason and Karen from the Walking Dead cast, recent Patreon supporters of ours, so that's really cool.
That's exciting.
Because I've been listening to them since 2012, and it's really cool to have them support us on our Patreon. Podcast that we listen to, not just a Facebook group, but an actual podcast, and a really good one. That's how I found Katie Burr. Mm-hmm. She did an interview with them, and she was talking about Southern Grimoire and how it was, her little passion project, and I started listening to Southern Grimoire and was just like, what the hell? I gotta get this person on our show. That voice is just so good, And now she's writing episodes for us and entrenched in our lore. And then Desdemona, sprinkle face herself. Welcome. She's been a long time supporter of our show since I guess you picked up on it from No Sleep, I assume. And now she's artist for the show, a lore master on the show, a researcher in the show. Just the ultimate podcast goddess herself is now literally a part of our team. So thank you for being here.
Yes.
And thank you for supporting us. And our newest one, just the other day. Huh?
And tolerating us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
She's part of our...
I just kicked Amy, so.
I know.
Under the table.
Don Watkins, supporting us now on Patreon. He just started. He's actually another one of the guys I work with. He's a driver for our dealership, and he's been listening to our show for over a year, like on our, listens to it over and over, and always has questions about it. And he was just like, I want to support your show. He's like, but I don't know about this Patreon thing, man. Like, what's this about? So I had to sit down, and that's understandable. So transitioning to my next subject off of our shoutouts, thank you, Don Watkins, is, I got two more things to bring up on this. And that's, we're going to be adding a PayPal donation button, and I think we're going to add a tip jar and a few other things, and we're changing the Patreon tab on our website to just donors, because I think that's cool because we're medical. And you can be a different type of donor. You can be an organ donor, or you can donate on Patreon. You can donate on just a one-time through PayPal, or set up a recurring PayPal, or we'll set up a tip jar, that kind of thing. Because I know that there is a lot of backlash on Patreon, and we love our Patreon supporters. I'm glad the platform exists out there because it does help out a lot. I mean, our Patreon literally takes care of our server every month. That does not come out of my pocket anymore, which is awesome.
Yes.
And you guys that we just read off on that makes that happen. Our server and our website are taken care of by our Patreon supporters. But there's a lot of people that when Patreon sites are going to change something, change their rules, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that because it's a company just like YouTube or anything else. So you're at the mercy of what they do and their percentages and those kind of things. So we just want to put some other ways out there that you can help support the show. You can always just mail us a check. We need support from listeners like you as PBS.
Send a bag of cash.
Yeah.
No organs, though.
Yeah.
We don't really want those.
Because we started off really ambitious, trying to get 447 Patreon subscribers, so we could turn it into a weekly show, and we've had that goal now for over a year. And I don't think we're going to hit it, just because Patreon's popularity seems like it's plateauing. And that's, again, I can't market their company anymore, to get out there. I think that they've become a normal stable with GoFundMe and things like that. But your financial support's what keeps us going, and we appreciate it. So keep an eye on that donor part of our website if you've not been there. How we have other people supporting us is we've gotten some sponsors recently. First one was Shorty Cakes, which is owned and operated by Christina Ashworth, which is also part of our podcast team, but she has her own business, and she is sponsoring the show now. So thank you, Christina. And she makes some amazing cakes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just taste good; they
Yeah.
fucking look amazing.
They're so cute.
Yeah, she's a cake mastermind.
Yes,
You-
go to
you
her Facebook page and go look at them.
Yeah,
They're
go,
amazing.
Go find the Boba Fett helmet cake. That is so amazing. Down to like the scratches in it.
Yeah, it's
like,
got a dent in the side of
yeah,
it. And
it's
then,
just
My
so
coworkers
good.
were gushing over the little baby shower cake that she
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
recently. Like, they were gushing.
Didn't she do a Pennywise one time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, she's just amazing. She's not just our slide card episode art girl. She's a phenomenal artist in herself, and just so check it out at shortycakes.net. And then WM Savings, they've been sponsoring us. They're a local group here that's trying to help you buy refrigerators, for cheaper, get better pricing on dentists, all sorts of things. That's done through WM Savings. And so check them out. We'll have links to all that in the show notes. And thank you to our supporters. And with that, we're going to take another break. Be right back. And we're back.
Yeah.
So if you stuck around this long, or you just went to the show notes where I'm going to have time, I guess I could have said that at the beginning of the episode. But we are going to have timestamps. This is something that I'm very, very excited to unveil. And there's going to be an actual video that I'll be posting with even more details on this in the next few days. But on Tuesday, today, we are launching our Sirenicide Riddle Hunt 2018. So recently saw Ready Player One and read Ready Player One right afterwards. And I'm one of the lucky sons of bitches, I guess, that saw the movie first and then read the book. So I didn't have to go in there with the, it's not like the novel. I didn't have to go in there like that. So that was really cool because I really enjoyed the shit out of the movie.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed the shit out of the book because I see them as two character sets, or two of the same character, or one character set living two different stories. And that's the way I view it. Same way I watch Game of Thrones and watch Walking Dead so I don't get hurt every day. I watch it like, what are you doing? The book they got. So I gotta worry about that. It's just based on that lore. Anyway, the Riddle Hunt. So they have this Easter egg hunt in that book, in that movie, and I was like, man, we should do like a Sirenicide hunt. Well, instead of that, we're gonna do riddles. So if you go to our contest page on our website, there's this giant paragraph with holes in it, and it is a line from a future episode that is not yet written. And I would read it in a certain voice, but that would really give it away. But I'm pretty sure once I start reading it, it's going to give a lot of things away, but that's okay. So there are 3 giant blanks, and those blanks are filled with a hint on Facebook, a hint on Twitter, and a hint on Instagram. So basically, you're going to go to each one of those social network pages. You're going to look on there, and there's going to be an actual smaller riddle, and the answer to that smaller riddle will fill in the blank. So, I thought I had blank to see this through, but now you are really here, and I don't know if I can. Maybe it's the blank night.
Twitter.
Blank on Twitter. Night, or the gleam in your eyes, because something I thought was buried is surfacing again. I mean it. Let them have this blank on Instagram future with its anathema flame. I just want the past, and I want it with you. You know, like when I was still a good man. So, the first hint is on Facebook, the second hint is on Twitter, and the third hint is on Instagram. And those are going to go live today. So you can go through there, each one of the social networks listed above, and you can follow those links, and you will find the riddle. Once you solve it, you're going to fill in the corresponding blanks in the paragraph. If you are a donor on Patreon via PayPal or whatever, you can actually message us and we'll give you a stronger hint for just one of those hints. If you're like, I solved the first one, I solved the second one, I cannot figure this third one out. Because you paid to play, you get extra help. So if you want extra help, pay to play. It'll go towards a good cause, I promise, making more of this content. You can message us on that platform, get an extra hint for one of the blanks above. Only one. And if once you solve it, or you think you've solved it, you plug those answers in, like, I thought I had the clown to see this through. We're like, nope, sorry, clown's not the answer, but nice try. Try again. So you're going to email us through this time frame, which I'm about to go over, and you will be able to, so you get it right. And we'll let you know. Once you have it right, you'll be entered in the pool to win the prizes. And what are the prizes? Do you want to read the prizes?
Hugs.
Digital hugs.
Smiles and high fives.
Digital smiles and high fives. Asterisk. Do not knock on our door. Where's my hug? I won. You want to read the prizes?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the prizes that the super fan will win is... Okay.
$1 million.
No. You get to choose any piece of art from our gallery that we've had. Go to SireNicide.com and we will actually sign it and frame it for you. This is probably the biggest one, $100 gift card to Amazon.
What? That's a typo. It's a $10 gift card.
No, it's not. It's $100. A character written into a season 4 episode based on your ideas within reason. Come on, people.
Yeah. I want him to be a leprechaun with like rainbow horns.
And space.
In space.
Seen that one.
You can get 2 Sirenicide t-shirts, a red and a black one. We do have, let us know what your size is, because we do have small, medium, large, or extra large.
So if you don't fit one of those sizes, you can just get it anyway and like put on a teddy bear or something.
Yeah.
That's what we have. We're out of the other ones. We're out of the extra smalls and we're out of the extra larges.
They've been selling like crazy.
Yeah, totally.
The classic, no longer in print set of Sirenicide stickers.
I really am running out of those. So this is a big deal. This is going to be like your last time to get the doc with his arms outstretched over the body stickers. They're almost gone.
I might have to snag a couple.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're going to have to play this contest.
Well, looking for me. I know the answers.
Let's make a new one just for Joe.
And finally, if you've seen our live show, we will give you a small wooden box from the harvest of 1928, and we will engrave the Sirenicide trademark and sign it.
Yeah, and we'll sign the bottom of it. That way you can still have it as a cool thing, you know, if you don't want. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's Sharpie all over it.
And it may or may not have a bloody organ in it from that.
And your Amazon gift card may or may not be shoved in that bloody organ.
You'll have to perform surgery on it to pull it out.
And it's going to smell like strawberries.
Yeah.
It will smell like. It may or may not be there, but if it is, it will smell like strawberries.
So those are 6 amazing prizes for the Gunther that wins this hunt.
Happy hunting.
So the rules: contest starts August 7th, 2018. Today. This was not recorded on August 7th. And ends December 18th, 2018. That is the day of our season 3 finale. So you have until the end of this season to find all of the clues.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah.
All 3 answers must be correct and completed in the entry to win. So again, you have to get the right answers to be qualified to win. This is a global contest, though, just like our last one. No Regency restrictions apply. Yes, we know shipping something to Indonesia or to Chile might be a bitch, but we're going to do it. We'll pay for it. This is for you guys, especially if you go through all this to win. This is not an easy contest on purpose. So if you're the only one that guesses all the answers, you're good to go. You have until January 11th of 2019 to claim the prizes. So if you're one of those people that are listening to this, like, oh, I haven't listened to these ICE episodes, I'll let them stack up. I'm going to have a video that goes over this, but make sure you claim your prizes by January 11th. So the contest ends and we announce the winner on December 25th. So there's a small window there to claim your prizes. We're going to reach out to you as much as we can once we draw the winner, but we can't mail them to you if we don't have your address. So make sure you claim your prizes. There's going to be a Facebook live stream when we record the winner for that ICE episode. So you'll have a bunch of different ways for it to hit. It's going to be a bonus episode to see if you won or not. For any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to contact us at sirenicide.com or our Facebook or in one of our Facebook groups or at sirenicide@gmail.com if you have any questions. But really excited. And the riddles are pretty funny, like the ones on Facebook, the ones on Twitter and Instagram, to get the answers to fill the giant blank. They're pretty good. Some of them are easy. I think, what did we say? The one on Instagram is the easiest because we don't have enough people there. So when you go there to get the riddle, please follow us or like us or whatever you do on Instagram. I don't know Instagram. And then on Twitter, I'm active on that one. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter when you're there. And Facebook, of course, is our most popular social media platform. And that is the hardest of the riddles. So anyway, moving on to our last thing, and then we're going to close this I think it's our longest ICE episode.
Yes.
Gotta be. It's going to be over the 2-hour mark. Yeah. So if you made it to this far, we are having our first live panel. So we are going to be at the ScaryDad Haunted Halloween Show at the Crowne, Plaza, Northwest-Brookhollow, and that is going to be on September 29th, and that con runs from 10 to 4 p.m. Tickets are $10 at the door. I think they're working on a digital ticket link, but don't quote me on that. This isn't my show. But he told me, as far as for this promo, the tickets are $10 at the door. So, first come, first serve, get there. SIRENICIDE's panel will be at 1:30 p.m. and we're going to be answering questions. So come out if you got questions that you've always wanted to ask in person. Go for it. We're also going to be doing an overview of the show, and we're going to have a table there from 10 to 4. At that table, if you have liked our Facebook page and joined our Facebook group and you're subscribed to our show, come get a free t-shirt while supplies last. And we are putting enough aside for the contest winner. Don't worry.
You'll get your shirt.
So come by, get your free SireniSwag.
Strawberry
Siren everywhere.
I like
that. So come by and see us. Now, if you're interested in being a vendor at the show, vendor space is still available. It's very limited. So just check it out because the main hall is already sold out. But they still have additional vendors that are going to be in the lobby and the hallways alongside their the main room they have. So tables, lobby and hallway spaces must have tables provided and dressed by the hotel. Fear the rules. It's $85 to get those spots, and that supports the show and all that, and keeps it not our show, but the actual Haunted Halloween show. So if you're interested in selling some of your creepy, scary merchandise or your artwork or music or anything like that, not playing your music, but just putting out your little piece of horror in the world, make sure you hit up the ScaryDad podcast. You can find them on Facebook by searching ScaryDad. You can go to ScaryDad.com. There's just a ton of ways to get a hold of ScaryDad. And that's ran by our good friends, Billy and Scott, putting that together. And we're so happy to be a part of this. And so come by and see our table. And we hope to see you guys there. We thank you so much for being with us on this episode of the intensive care with a lot of intensive details. Hopefully it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And
we didn't meow that much.
Wow.
Until next time, I'm Johnny.
Amy.
Joey.
Desdemona.
And enjoy our show. We'll see you in a few weeks, guys.
Bye.
Peace.
All elements of Sirenicide are copyright 2018 by Atrium Dynamics unless otherwise stated. Any duplication of this production without the secured written consent of Atrium Dynamics is strictly prohibited. Please visit SireNicide.com for more details. I'm recording, but I can edit up to the point where I go, hey!
I want to say hey.
You say hey.
Hey.
Hey!
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
John's a lot louder than everybody else.
I'm a projector.
Alright.
It's my favorite Dark Tranquility
I'm a
album.
projector. Like, who announces those sound like?
Take out my squeaky chair! Picked it up.
Yeah, I did.